Hi, everyone. Welcome to my session at Azure Back to School 2022. And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the family community and organizer of Azure Back to School for having me here today. Today I will be sharing about Azure Service Bus, a technical overview about it. And before I do that, I would like to share about myself. My name is Jonah Andersson. I work as an IT consultant at Forefront Consulting, and I work in different roles, such as mainly as a software engineer or a developer, working with .NET development and cloud development with Microsoft Azure. And part of my job as well is to do DevOps engineering, specifically being a DevOps lead, leading the DevOps and release management work. And aside from the work that I do on my day job, I am a Microsoft MVP for Azure and also a certified trainer, which means that I'm very active in sharing knowledge to the community, public speaking, as well as leading events and organizing Azure events with other speakers as well in Azure User Group Sweden, which is a community that I started uh, over a year ago. And on if I have spare time, I do actually try my best to be to make a difference by being a mentor. And I'm also writing my first book, Learning Microsoft Azure at O'Reilly, which is actually halfway, and it's currently on early release on O'Reilly's platform. So if you're interested to check it out, give feedback, and contribute, feel free to scan the QR code or contact me. But anyway, this session is not about me. It's about us learning about Azure Service Bus. I just want to give you a brief introduction of what it is, an important concept, demos, and uh, example. And Service Bus, Azure Service Bus is actually one of the known service in Azure that enables you to to do or to use it for enterprise messaging uh, solution that are fully managed and reliable, which is widely or useful actually when it comes to decoupling applications and services or APIs. So literally, what it does is that it allows you to send and receive message, and the service bus serves as a broker. So, to those that are new in this messaging concept, for example, in the real world, the word broker is pretty common in terms of buying a house. It's like house buy and sell of houses. So you usually have a broker. So service bus is like that, it's used for the coupled enterprise applications when it comes to sending and then receiving that application um, on the other side. So basically, you have they are isolated or decoupled, as it describes. So you have this sender application, and then you have the broker service bus, and then you have the receiver application. So the benefits of Azure Service Bus includes like a coordination of transactional works, like transactions, and then you can actually route and transfer data safely across different services or applications, even if they are maybe hosted in different cloud or a different resource group, or they are not really what do you call it, integrated or connected. So you can safely send and then receive on that receiver application. And then you can also do some load balancing work across your competing workers with Azure Service Bus. So messaging, enterprise messaging, topics and subscriptions that allows you to publish and subscribe in one-to-many relationships, decouple applications, topic and subscription. One more time there, it's like a duplicate, but it's not actually meant to be. I just forgot to delete that. And also transactions, which allows you to create atomic transactions and also some message sessions. So the important concepts that you just need to know in terms of learning the basic of Azure Service Bus is queues, and then the topics, which are the two uh, main entities of Azure Service Bus. So queues are used for as for sending messages that you want to relate to another applications, and topics also can send and receive messages, but it's specifically used for uh, publish and subscribe type of scenarios in this decoupled applications. And then namespace is like the container of all of these two components, which is important because the namespace that you create that because that's where you would use to get your connection service bus connection string that will allow your applications to talk to your queues and topics that you created through this namespace. And through this namespace, it's like the container, and that's where you put all the different or several types of queues and topics that you have. So queues are basically it's where you store your messages for sending and receiving. As you can see in this illustration, we have the sender application that sends in an enterprise queue message maybe, and then you have this message queue in the service bus with the messages that are currently in queue for the receiver to receive or retrieve. So it uses the first in, first out method, which means the messages are queued in the order they are received. And usually they are in a pull mode and usually used in a point to point communication. And topics, on the other hand, are actually this also the same as queue, that it's able to send and receive messages. However, the difference is that topics is different in a way that it can handle one to many relationships. So just like, for example, publish, subscribe type of scenarios, like public subscribe examples includes for example, when you're subscribing to a newsletter in a website, your favorite website, or for example, in the social media world, if you're trying to follow a specific hashtag. For example, I love dogs and I follow hashtag Labradoodle because my dog is a Labradoodle, and I think they're cute and sweet and lovely. So if, for example, if you follow that specific hashtag or slash topic, then you are considered one of these receivers of the new messages that you subscribe to for that specific topic. So basically, topics, for example, as mentioned, it's one to many, which means that a topic can have multiple, several, or independent subscriptions, which means that receiver one, for example, here can be subscribed to one or two topics out of 100, or receiver is also just subscribed to one of them. So it's one to many, publish, subscribe method, and usually subscriptions are considered durable by default, which means also that you act as someone that administrates this service messaging. you have the option to configure your subscription, like when it expires or when it can be deleted. So a namespace is, as mentioned, is the scoping container for these entities, Azure Service Bus entities. So as you can see here, the Azure Service Bus namespace, this is a document or image that I borrowed from Microsoft Docs. So here we have a Service Bus namespace, which has a queue in it, entity in it. And on the left, we have the message sender, and then on the right, we have the message receiver. So basically, what it does is that your message sender can be a web app or an API or a service that sends in this enterprise data or data that you really need to pass in to another application. So what you can do is you passed in this data as key message into the queue, and that um, message can be retrieved by the message receiver, which is another application somewhere else to retrieve those messages that was from like a mobile app. And when it comes to service bus features, the advanced ones, these are some of them. So there's this first in, first out, which means message sessions. And then there's also this feature of dead letter queue. This means that if you have a queue message that didn't went through to your queue box, if you call it, or you can call it like unsent messages. So just like our Outlook or our SMS, if it doesn't get sent, you have this outgoing messages that are there. So there's like a dead letter queue as well for those unsent or failed messages, and there's the option also to schedule delivery, and then auto forwarding that you can set up if you, for example, if you want your queue message to be forwarded to another queue, or queue message to be forwarded to a topic. And then there's also transactions, which can be, there's a lot of options for it. Like, for example, you can create atomic transactions for that, and then also some filtering and actions that you can do specifically, for example, on the topics option or entity, if you're going to use that component. And then, right. So that was it. Actually, the major one that you need to know. But I'm gonna do a demo, and I'm gonna show you briefly first how Azure Service Bus looks in Azure Portal. So I'm in the Azure Portal right now. So since I prepared for this demo, so what I did is I created an uh, Azure Back to School namespace. And in my namespace, I have created a queue named Azure Back to School queue. And just to give you an overview of how it looks in the Azure portal. So we have the overview, you have the activity log, Azure control, the settings, so shared access policies, and then you have the monitoring, automations, and the common uh, configurations that we have on every Azure resource. So when it comes to a namespace, you can actually have both queues and topics in one namespace, and you can have several of them in a namespace. And you also have this max size, which is for this standard tier that I have, which is the 1024 megabytes. And I also have the option to enable partitioning to that. And when I go into my service bus queue, I have the option to disable or enable the partitioning and other features that I mentioned, like duplicate detection. This is the queue URL if if I'm gonna need it for my applications, and also sessions. I have disabled it, and I can also have the options to uh, enable the for auto forwarding as well. And then I also want to introduce you to Service Bus Explorer. There's actually a tool, like it's in a Bitbucket here that you can download. It's a repository by Paolo Salvatore. So here he guides us with the README where you can have Azure Service Bus Explorer. I'm not really sure exactly how updated it is, but it looks like he's working on it for the past days, as you can see on this GitHub. So feel free to check it out. But otherwise, if you want to see your queue messages, you actually have that option as well in Azure. But going back to the namespace, I just want to share with you as well about pricing tier. So right now I have standard, but just an overview in terms of pricing or tiers. So there's the basic, standard, and premium that you can actually upgrade by clicking on the migrate to premium. And the difference between basic and standard is that they both have shared capacity and the same max messaging size. That a pretty obvious difference is that in basic, you only have queues as an entity. But in standard, you can create both queues and topics in one namespace. And then you also have this feature of messaging ops, which means that uh, you have this messaging operations of 13 million ops, messaging ops per month, and you have this variable pricing as well. But if you want premium features, like for example, a dedicated capacity and also more features, then that is ready for production use, then premium might be s- something that you need. All right, so that's it. So that's the Azure back to school namespace. So you can go when you start doing hands-on on this. You can just look around. But if you're curious to read more about Azure Service Bus, there's a good documentation and that in Microsoft Docs about the different features and some examples, as well as references to different languages that you can use it for. Like right now in my code demo, I'm going to be showing how to set up an Azure Service Bus queue, sender, and receiver using a console application, and then I'm gonna use Azure functions to receive those messages that I sent. So, but you can also apply it in Java applications, Python, JavaScript, and other languages, and also communicate with it using REST and CLI. And also, aside from the features that I mentioned, I also want to mention about us using. You can use actually shared access signature, or role-based RBAC, and manage identities in terms of security or securing your resource for that. And also, when it comes to messaging protocol, it uses advanced message queuing protocol, AMQP 1.0, and also the HTTP REST protocol. So you can read about the compliance and other features that it has depending on the language. And when it comes to integration, it integrates well with Event Grid, Logic Apps, Azure Functions, and I'm gonna show as an receiver example, simple one today, and a lot more. So feel free to do that. And also, if you go to the same documentation and down the left, you look for samples. There are actually some good link to code examples and GitHub repos where you can check how you can implement it in .NET, Java, and other Spring or Python examples. So let me just go ahead and show you my Visual Studio 2022. I actually have the latest one. I'm not sure. So I have this Enterprise edition of Visual Studio. Hopefully that's the best one. All right. So what I have here actually is a project called Azure Service Bus demo that I created um, just recently for this demo or presentation for Azure Back to School. So what I do is that I'm going to show you an example of Q Sender, Service Bus Q Sender application, which is a console app. And then I'm going to be receiving those queue messages using Azure functions, which is actually triggered when I have something. Uh, if there's a queue message that arrived. But since I haven't deployed this yet because it's not done, I want to finish it by adding like topics as well as implementing Azure Key Vault. So this is just for demo purposes. But when um, my code is done, I'm gonna share this repo on my GitHub, which is github.com/Jonah Andersson. So so here is how the receiver looks. So this is actually running my application, or this project is actually in .NET framework. So this is so what I have here is I have tested or created a JSON file with some example data of it, of lists of people with ID, first name, and other important ones. And and uh, and and what I will do is I will actually try to read the data from that JSON file, and then for each person that is retrieved there, I'm gonna create a message uh, that says welcome, oh hello, first name and last name of the person, welcome to Azure Back to School. And then if it's going to be a message bus because batch, so in a queue message in service bus you can actually send batch messages. So what I did this is I have a for each loop of in line 40 line 46 here, you have for each persons in that list, I'm gonna be sending a message, queue message as a batch after reading the JSON file. But I want to share with you the most important one. So here I have created my own class for service bus settings that I have secrets in my app settings that JSON right now that I am planning to implement or move to Key Vault for security. So I have that. And in order to be able to talk to the service bus client, you would actually need to install the packages like the Azure Messaging Service Bus to do that. And probably you would need the Newtonsoft JSON for reading the JSON file, and then Microsoft extension that Azure, which is what I have, is the latest that I downloaded. So you would need this in order to communicate with the Service Bus SDK. So there's the Service Bus client. You would need to create an instance for that, like in line 30, 31, and then once you have that, you can actually do some options in line 38, like set up your options that you're going to choose this transport type of AMQ MP WebSockets, but there are other options that you can choose from here depending on what is your preferred transport type. And then when you create an instance of the Service Bus client line 39 here, you would need to pass in your connection strings and your desired options. And then you would create a new instance of the sender using the client, and then you would pass in the queue name. And the queue name that I put in is actually the queue name that I have here in my namespace, Azure Back to School namespace, and the name of my queue is Azure Back to School queue. So that's what I actually a string that I have as a setting. So I'm reading in here. I'm trying to get a list of people from JSON files. So I have a local. Oh, I was debugging last time. So uh, I was like just reading the data from the JSON using the stream reader, and then deserialize it and pass it back. So in my loop, I have this person, and then send it out, and then I have a try catch message to send those. And then since this is just a demo and a simple console app, just to show you how the sending part of it works, then I'm just gonna write console write line message that's I have this one. So if I'm gonna like start this, so it's just gonna basically tell me that if my code is still working from the last time. Yeah, so it basically is just going to tell me that, hey, a batch of 15 messages has been published to the queue. And why is it 15? It's because the data that I have in people.json is actually up to 15 only. I didn't want to spam my service bus queue for just for demo purposes. So I have that. So if we go back to, it says that it sent 15 queue messages today. So what we can do is we can refresh our queue, and let's see. It was too big. Okay, take that. So if we go back to the queue, I think I'm zooming a lot. Okay, if we go back to the queue, here we can see that I have 15 messages for the last hour. And since this is a recording, maybe I'm actually revealing what time is the recording of this, but it's not the problem. The important one is I delivered the demo without problem. So here it is. So if we do, there are actually, if you go in a queue, there's actually two modes. So the pick mode and the receive mode. So since we want to retrieve this queue messages using a receiver application, I don't want to receive it right now. I want to pick it and see what's the message that I currently have after running my sender console app in .NET 6. So as you can see here, this is the 15 messages that I sent today. So today, and then it's gonna say the message, hello, Gary Ortiz. Let me see. I think if we click on this, you can actually expand. You can actually see the message. And then you will see also the message properties, which contain the message ID, the sequence, when it was received, and also the expiration time if you have set that or left it as a default. But as you can see, I have these 15 greetings, hello, and then the name of the person from my JSON file, and it's saying welcome to Azure Back to School message. So I have this currently in my message broker service bus queue. And if I stop my application right now, and switch back to another section of my project or solution, I would like to use Azure Functions for this. This is in .NET 6 as well. But what I have here is a very simple example of Azure Functions that's actually triggered uh, by any new message that is in the service bus. So basically, it uses in line 14, it uses the service bus queue trigger. And then I did pass in the name of my queue and then the connection string that I have, which is something that you would need to retrieve in from the Azure portal and put it on either in an Azure Key Vault, or if you're working locally, you can put it temporarily on your local settings that JSON, and then I can put logger if I want to. And then in my try catch block in here in line 21, I just want to check that my message is not actually empty. So in each queue message item that I receive, I will be sending a new message email, and then I will also try to send an email with the use of my API, and then create the client send grid for that, create the message, and I want to set my admin email address, recipient email address, and then send those message to the recipient depending on what I set up. So I'm not sure if my SendGrid is active right now, but what I can do is I can start my Azure Functions locally and see if it's gonna send the email. I should have started a new instance uh, and have both of them in parallel. All right. So it went too quickly. So as you can see here, my Azure function with which has the service bus queue trigger have access or retrieved all those existing messages that I have from on the service bus queue, and it's doing its log for today. Like it was triggered. I didn't have to do anything because there was something in the service bus queue. But if both of them are actually deployed in separate isolated environments, and or I could do it locally as well, but I did stop my console, but it did work actually my demo. So it's trying to log what's going on in a quick second, and it's saying sending email with message, hello Russell Robinsons, welcome to Azure Back to School. And then it's also sending email to this guy, and then also to Maria Carpenter. And then I did actually add a log that says email was sent successfully. So if I check my email, let me see. I don't want to. Oh, oh. So if I check my email right now, I'm just hiding some stuff. So you see, my Code Magazine is one of the magazines I like to read. So I saw that there's a new edition for September, October. So I was downloading it. But anyway, if you notice, my Outlook right now. So what I did is I sent it from my personal Jonah Andersson email to my work email. Stasher function. That's the configuration that I have. So if you can see the time of recording, it's actually 10 in the evening when this is recorded. And what it does is actually sent the email from Jonah Andersson to this. So I basically have like a lot of messages right now to read. But this is just a mini example. You can actually control how much what you want to do with your email. So with the help of SendGrid documentation, you will be able to do that. And if so that's the demo. So if we just go back briefly and let you know how, so earlier before we run the Azure Functions, which is the received app, it had these messages on the service bus queue. But if we refresh this, uh, it should be empty or zero messages, because the receiver app, which is the Azure Functions with the service bus trigger, already retrieved these messages and sent the email to me, to my work email address, which was set up. If we refresh this, then you see it's gone. The messages are gone. So that's a simple example of how Azure Service Bus Key works in two isolated application: the console .NET 6 app, which is used for sending, and Azure Functions in .NET 6 for receiving part of it with integration to SendGrid API. So it went quickly. So if I were to, let me just close this one. So yes, so that is my demo. Let me just go ahead and go back to my presentation. So that was my demo. I hope that you learned more. But if you have questions regarding this, if you have input or feedback, or just want to say hi, feel free to contact me by scanning this QR code. And thank you so much for having me. I hope that you enjoyed my session and learned something good about Azure Service Bus. Thank you.